All right, Shalom, Shalom.
Shalom.
Give us a second to pull up the screen, make sure everything's good. All right, we all good. All right, Shalom. Before we
Shalom.
get started with this lesson, we want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us His truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that's out here laboring in all truth and sincerity. To you, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
It's the brothers from Great Millstone, Charlotte, coming back with another Lord willing, edifying lesson to feed the elect of the nation of Israel. And before we started, and pretty much in this lesson, we want to go into. All right, pretty sure a couple brothers have seen it, done videos on it, but the nations are afraid of Jake. All right, and we say that because it was this thing that came out about how the so-called Japanese, which we know as the nation of Ammon, all right, how they view so-called black people, and the sentiment that we're about to go into isn't just solely focused on them because it's all the nations that really fear, Jake. And the funny part about it is that they fear us now in our lower state. So, like the title says, if they're afraid of us now, how much more when we are changed?
Mm-hmm.
If you got anything you want to add in, Quantum, go ahead.
I mean, like you said, these nations already know, right? And the Lord is putting that spirit back in the earth to where, in their spirits, they're being prepared to go back into their rightful state, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as we're being prepared to be set up, as the kings over the earth, right? They're being set up to be those vassals, man.
That's right.
Those servants, right? And the people they can't come to grips with it. That's why you have like we're gonna go into people making statements like this.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll go ahead and read. All right. So first, before we even read this, so this is what's been trending on social media. So this post, it says, "Ain't no way this is real. The Japanese view black people like fucking Viltrumites." So if you're familiar with the show Invincible, then you know that the Viltrumites are pretty much like the top beings in the universe, in that show. And as you go into, the origin story and pretty much the whole deal with the Viltrumites, you could literally see that they're saying that the Viltrumites really are Jake because they had similar, you know, what's the word I want to use? They got similarities in their story and what happened with us because as we know, these devils, they are inspired by these shows and movies from the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So of course, these are translated, by Grok from the original Japanese how they wrote it. But just reading a couple posts, it says the number of encounters with black people in my neighborhood is steadily increasing. Their skeletal structure and the way their muscles are built are on a completely different level from Japanese people. I'm slim, so if I get pinned down, it'd be over in seconds. I never imagined that violence from a foreigner would climb the ranks in my predictions for my own cause of death. I couldn't have pictured that even a few years ago. Things change when you least expect them to, huh? And let me read this next one before I say what I'm gonna say. All right, so this is another tweet or post or whatever you want to call it. It says, I get it. Even in my neighborhood or on the train, there's definitely more of them around. And above all, their bills are just on another level. The moment I see one, I think no matter how you slice it, there's no way a Japanese person could stand up to that. Even the women, even if their height is about the same, have this thickness and weight class vibe that's from another world entirely. When I think that's that one punch from them might just kill me on the spot. It's so terrifying I can hardly stand it. And this just shows you that these people, these nations, they feel it in their spirit. They know what's up with us, man. And of course, they have the records to show what we were capable of, man. All right, when we're in our full strength. All right. Now, can we get that Jeremiah real quick, Baba Kashar?
So Jeremiah 10:16, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he
Mm-hmm.
is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name.
Right. And what makes us different from all the other nations because we are the direct descendants of the Most High. All right. That's why another title, all right, for us, all right, we have, what we are the Israelites. When you break down the name Israel, it goes into Yasharallah, Yahi, Shar, Prince, Allah, power. So we are the prince of the power, the princes of the power, or the sons of the power, or what you also can call us are the sons of God. All right, because we know according to the scriptures, there's three classification of beings. You have the sons of God, which are the chosen line, the Israelites. You have the sons of men, which are the other heathen nation, and then you have the sons of the wicked, which are the Edomites, the so-called white race. All right. So they know that there's something about us that's different from the rest of the nations, and that's because we are the Most High's children. All right. The Lord, according to Deuteronomy, can you get that too? Deuteronomy 4 and
I
start at
got
verse
you right
5.
here. So Deuteronomy 4:5, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, that ye
Mm-hmm.
should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
Right. Statutes and commandments, which are pretty much instructions on what we're supposed to be doing while we're here on this earth. Because, like I was saying, we are the direct, descendants from the Most High, meaning that His Spirit dwells inside of us. All right. Because, contrary to popular belief, the Most High is not dealing with all the nations on the earth like Christianity and Catholicism teach. All right. He's only dealing with one nation. All right. And that's what set us apart from all the other nations because we have the Lord's instructions and planted inside of our spirit, but we're just on a low level right now because we're in this mortal flesh where we're susceptible to sin. But
Right.
go ahead.
Verse 6, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which
Hmm.
shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
Right. So the nations have always been in awe with the Israelites. All right. That's why it was such a big thing for them to find out our weaknesses so that they could come against us and take us down, which they ultimately figured it out when you read the book of Judith, the fifth chapter, where they was pretty much making it known that when we're one with our power, all right, that we are unstoppable. But when we have sin, corrupting us, then we are pretty much made open to the heathens' advances because the Lord removed the hedge of protection from us and allowed the nations to take us down.
Exactly.
But when we're even, like I say, even in this lower state, the influence of the Most High is still here because we're able to do things on a greater level than the other nations. Just our physical build, like you were just hearing as we was reading the descriptions of what these Ammonites were saying. All right, because the intimidation for them is because as you see Jake pretty much beginning to venture back out into the world. You're seeing a lot of so-called black people beginning to move over there to Japan. All right. So they're seeing a lot more black people than they're normally used to seeing. Like, for an example, because these nations are in awe. All right. Jake, that have the ability to go abroad. You have like the passport bros and these different, Jakes that's able to travel. When these other nations that aren't used to seeing so-called black people like that, when they first encounter them, they're amazed because just from our skin complexion to like our muscle build, from everything about us, the aura that we give off, man. Everything is fascinating to these heathen because it's our spirit within us that draws these nations to us.
Right. Yeah, that's why in Lamentations, it pretty much says, certainly this is the day that we have looked for,
Hmm.
because they they couldn't imagine a time where they have the upper hand over us, man. That's why, Psalms 83rd chapter, every nation has been in one consent against us, man, because they all look at us like this, whether they want to admit it or not.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
I had oh, you have something else? Go ahead.
I was gonna keep reading that Deuteronomy.
Oh, go ahead.
So Deuteronomy 4:7. For what nation is so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them? as the Lord our power is in all things that we call upon him for.
Yeah.
It says, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, finish out. I'm not pointing out.
Okay. It said, and what nation is there so great that had statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day?
Because what it is, like I made mention of earlier, is that the spirit that's within us is like a light that draws these nations to us, and that's going to be amplified even more in the kingdom, because when the law, statute, commandments are put in our inward part, and we're changed into those immortal beings. All right, the ways of wisdom are going to be pushed forth throughout the whole earth. And just like we had an example of that in the King Solomon's rulership, you're gonna have the nations coming to us, all right, to receive that wisdom. All right, like you had the Queen of Sheba when she came to inquire of King Solomon. All right, that's gonna be like that, worldwide in the kingdom of heaven, man. And you can read about that in Isaiah the 2nd chapter and Micah the 4th chapter, man. All right, the nations are drawn to us, man, and you see that on a low level because look at the influence Jake has in the world now. All right, through sports. All right, you had Jake like Michael Jordan, and Allen Iverson, for example. All right, they're a global icon to where you had nations literally tattooing themselves, getting braids. All right, want to look like AI, man. You got a commercial. I want to be like Mike. You got all these nations wearing Jordans and everything because they want to be like Jake. You got these nations rapping. Doing all. Hey, they want to be like Jake, man. Cutting the hair. Bald and having the big beards like Rick Ross. You see that over there in the Arab countries. You know, Jake is influential because we have that salt. But the thing about it is what these nations, what they know about us and what they really relish. Because like you made the quote earlier in that I forgot the verse you quoted, but pretty much um they were able to get one up over us because they know that as long as we stay in sin, that they're going to be able to be on top of us, man. You
Right,
know,
right. Yeah. Uh,
you got any more on that?
that was it on the Deuteronomy. Yeah.
I'm gonna get this real quick because, like I said, they know that we're naturally better than them. This is Exodus chapter 1 and verse. I started at verse 8. Matter of fact, I started at verse 7. It says, "And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the people of the children of Israel are more mightier than we. It said, are more and mightier than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and come to pass that when they falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land, right? So this new Pharaoh, all right, that pretty much came into power, all right, he pretty much, he didn't respect or know, things that Joseph did for our people. So he saw, the amount of the influence that we had, all right, the amount of people that he saw as far as the influence that we had. That's why he said they're more and mightier than us. So they conspired against each other or conspired against us to pretty much let the rest of his people know, like, look, if we don't do something about these Israelites, man, they're eventually going to overtake us. Or if we go to war, they have the chance to be able to join into our enemies and wipe us out. So we got to do something to make sure that they don't, they don't keep, increasing and eventually overtake us. So verse 11, it says, Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. And this is the same thing that we see in today's time with these the system that Babylon the Great is set up as is to keep Jake in perpetual, problems. All right, you got systems within systems. All right, the word system just means pits. So you got these different, pitfalls set up in America to pretty much keep Jake in this lower state. But we see even in the lower state, Jake's greatness still shines through because no matter what you try to do, Jake is still the most intelligent race on the planet. They're the most, athletically capable. All right, they're the most, what's the word? pretty much know they can go through anything because the shit that we had to endure, throughout slavery, only the Israelites was going to be able to take that because all the other nations they would kill themselves ultimately, man. You know,
Right.
so what they had to do was pretty much, come up with ways to handicap us in a sense. But like I said, even in our handicap, these nations still fear. That's why these policemen, all right, they shoot Jake in cold blood, especially big, tall, bulky Jake. All right, hey, the first thing they have in their mind when they pull a nigga like that over is to shoot that nigga dead because if he, turns and wants to, put hands on Esau, Esau can't he can't fight us because he's naturally weaker. So the gun was used as a way for them to establish their dominance over us, man. That's why, like I said, their first instinct is to shoot Jake dead, man, because they can't deal with us even on a physical level, let alone a spiritual or even mental level, man. You know.
Right. If I could add to you, priest,
Mm-hmm.
they know that the Israelite man, woman, and child are peak, human form, right on
Yep.
this side.
Yep.
So that's why they did everything as you went into that Judith, right? They do everything to keep your spirit in a base level because that's when they can have the most control over you, man.
Mhm.
And now we're seeing that grasp is starting to slip, right? And Jake is starting to wake up, man, right, and starting to realize where that power lies. And now the physical side of things, Esau couldn't handle, and now they have no way to touch the spiritual either, man.
Nope. And that's the thing that they're afraid of. Since you said that, could you grab Revelation chapter 11 and verse 8?
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing, like you said, on a spiritual level, that's what they're afraid of. Because if they know we're able to get back, to our first estate, because think back then, bro. Even back then, during the time of King David and our forefathers, we were still somewhat on a low level because we're not at our full capacity,
Right.
and we were still putting fear in these nations, man. So how much more when we actually are changed and get those bodies, man? We get the Lord endows us with that power, man. These nations, hey, they're gonna bug out, man.
God. It's Revelation 11 and 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
Hmm. Yeah, man, and that's here in Babylon the Great, man. All right, because these nations, they're in great fear now. All right, and all we're doing is just reading the book. We're just reading. This book is the greatest book in the world, but just quantifying it. All we're doing is just reading words out of a book, and these nations are terrified, man. All right, so why is that? Because they know what's coming. They know once they see Yahushua crack those clouds, it's go time, man. Okay, hey, that they gonna see the nation of Israel, turn up. The Lord's gonna dial us up, man, and we gonna be what they said they're saying now. They comparing us to the Viltrumites. Well, you gonna see that on an even higher level, man. Because what they show you in Invincible, that's just child's play. What we're gonna be able to do, man. You got it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Revelation 11 and 9. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And they
Mm-hmm.
that mhm,
No, go ahead.
okay. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth.
Yeah, the two prophets being the northern and southern kingdom. All right, because it's not just so-called Negroes, all right, that you got to worry about because the 12 tribes of Israel consist of the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, race, so-called, all right, because we're all the same people, all right, and so as you see, man, the so-called black, brown, that divide is being, done away with, which is what we read about when we bring out, Amos 9:11. All
Mm-hmm.
right, about the house of David, being brought back together like of old. All right, he's closing the breaches, showing us that there's really no difference, in between, you know, the Latino, Native American, and so-called Negro race, man. We're the same people. Esau just put barriers in between us to keep us from coming together, you know, and that's always been their biggest fear too. That's why, you know, what happened during the was it the LA riots when Rodney King got his ass beat, and you had, you know, Jake coming together with the so-called Latin tribes, and they was getting busy on Esau. That was Esau's biggest fear. That's why they don't pretty much let it get out there that you so-called Latinos are getting hung too. You know, that you go through baby mama drama and the curses as well. You know,
Right.
that the scriptures tell us that, you know, matter of fact, I'll get that real quick. You got a point. You go ahead and make it. I'm gonna grab this precept.
Okay. I mean, like you were saying, man, Jake is the most capable of all the people on the earth, right? And the whole system had to be designed in order to keep us down, man, right? And
Mhm.
now, you know, outside of the physical side of things, because you know everybody knows that Jake is more physically imposing than the rest of these nations, man. But
Mhm.
the mental and spiritual side of things is where you know the separation starts, man. Right? Because we actually have that connection to a higher power, man. You know,
Right.
and that's what these nations ultimately envy.
Right. Yeah, because hey, like I said, Babylon the Great, that was, you know, the nation's, you know, greatest achievement, because here in, you know, spiritual Sodom and spiritual Egypt, you know, this captivity, you know, it wiped our memory, you know, for lack of better words, to where we forgot who we were. You know, that's why they could make these shows like Invincible, Dragon Ball Z, you know, and all the different animes and whatnot, and they show you, you know, spiritual power, and they make it think like that's just some, you know, a fringe of imagination. Like that's not possible. But as you've been seeing, you know, as of late with these scientists specifically, that dude David Wilcock, what he was bringing out was showing that, hey, you so-called black people, but he was specifically talking about Judah. But like I said, it's all the tribes. But he was saying the so-called black race is the closest race to, you know, the angels. You know, we have angelic descendants, and what he was saying was true, because what he said, we're in an age, or he said a shift. We're a shift to where the veil is thinning, and you're about to see supernatural powers come onto the earth. But that's not just for anybody. That's for the Israelites, specifically the elect of the Israelites. You
Right.
know. So that precept I wanted to get was Jeremiah 50 and 33, and it says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts: the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." And that's why I said, all you tribes, all right, we're the same people. And like I said, Esau doesn't want to equate that we are the same, all right, as, you know, the so-called Latins, and the so-called Native Americans, man. All right. That's why their biggest fear is for us to realize that and come together, because we're an unstoppable force when we all work together. That's why, you know, the scriptures say a house divided can't stand. That's why they put, you know, the different stereotypes, you know, the black, you know, the dark skin versus the light skin. All right. They try to, you know, put that beef in between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Matter of fact, could you get that too? Where it said, no, I get it real quick. It's like you still holding that other one. I'll grab it. Because the scriptures say Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that breach pretty much coming back, you know, together. This is Isaiah 11 and 13. It says, "The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim." And so this is what I'm saying. The Lord is showing us that we are all the true children of the Most High. All right, because I don't know if you've seen the video yet, Quantum Walk. Hey, Northern Kingdom, stay getting that wake up call, man.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hispanic
yeah.
cop
Mm-hmm.
that was talking shit, you know, about how much she hate niggas, and then it came out and said that these Edomites is letting it be known, like, look, no matter how much you try, we ain't gonna accept y'all either, because they look at you like niggas too. They
Yep.
know in their spirit that the tribes are all, you know, they're opposed to them. All right, so no matter how light skinned you are, no matter how much you try to, dim your light, trim your ways and seeking love from the devil, they're never going to accept you because they know in their spirit that you're not like them. All right, that's going back to Genesis, man. The two nations that was in Rebecca's womb. All right, that shows you that it's a separation, man. Jacob, the nation of Israel, and Esau, the nation of Edom. All right, you got it out.
Okay. It's back in Revelation 11 and 11. It reads, "And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them."
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, all right. Hey, these devils, they're in great fear because they're witnessing, the shift of us coming back into our spiritual estate. All right. Now, on a carnal plane, you can't see nothing. You just see, a bunch of jakes waking up, going out on the highways and byways and teaching, doing videos every day. But you're not seeing in the spirit what's actually happening, man. All right. It's an actual shift in the world happening to where the Lord's spirit is taking over the world. And so what you're not seeing with your carnal eyes in the spirit, we're witnessing a gigantic change. And the last thing that we're waiting on to truly happen is for the Lord to send that power back down, man. And you're going to be seeing Jake doing all type of amazing things, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's what these nations are afraid of, man. Because they have the flashbacks of King David,
Yep.
right? Establishing, like the scriptures talk about him putting garrisons in Edom, right? And the Lord preserving him wherever he went. He put garrisons in Syria, right?
Yep.
All these nations, he put those military compounds, so to speak, right? But those takeovers, they looked like what we're seeing in the video right now, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the spiritual power being displayed, right, through David and his mighty men, and that's what they see when they see Jake out and about, man. You know.
Matter of fact, since you said that, get 2 Samuel 23, and we're gonna read about King David and his mighty men. We're just gonna read through it. Start at verse 8. We'll go down to 23. Because before you play that, I want to play this other one because alongside with the with the Israelites waking up and coming back to their true estate, they also know that the angels are coming too. All right, they know that the angels, are so-called black men. All right, that's another thing. They don't want the connection for Judah to realize that the angels that's coming back, that's in those ships they're trying to call aliens, that those are actually our brothers. And it's been multiple accounts of people confirming that. All right, now I want to play this.
No, it's no sound up.
And that's what these nations are afraid of. So they feel it now. They feel that now, that fear now. They feel what we're able to do to them now on a low level. So, like I said, when we get changed, man, like you said, they have the records. They know of the feats of King David and his mighty men. They know that shit is coming, man, and that these nations are afraid of that, man. You got it, bro.
If I can add too, they see it in every Jake, right? The capability, right? That's why they treat all of us the way they do, right? That's why that Japanese dude, right? He was talking about how it's like he's afraid of every black person at this point, because that's what he sees when he sees us, man. So how much more the men who are actually going to receive those powers in these times, man?
Because if I can get that, since you said that, because you said every Jake, and in the spirit, especially for Esau, the reason why they're afraid of it, because they know that the Lord has the ability to put His spirit in any Jake He want, and so that's why, like this scripture right here, Zechariah 12:8, and in that day the Lord shall defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. And that's what this video pretty much the Edomite was saying. He said when they saw those angels getting off the ship, he said they looked like a nation that had never been conquered before. And that's the spirit, because when you go into that word Racha in the blue letter, it says of warlike energy, and the spirit of the Lord. Scripture say us, the Exodus 15:3, the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is his name. All right. That spirit is being put back on Jake now, man. And so that look that he's talking about, these nations subconsciously see that now in us, because us regaining our nationality, all right, us regaining the knowledge of who we are as being the sons of God, that spirit of is on us to where you're not conquering nothing no more, man. All right. You was able to, put these fleshly bonds on us, but spiritually and mentally, hey, we're overcoming you. And they know that the next step that we're going to get is power. Okay. Right. You got it.
God. So 2 Samuel 23 and verse 8. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Tachmonite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains, the same was Adino, the Esnite. He lifted up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time. And after him, God.
No, he agreed. We're going to read through it.
God. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahoite, one of the three mighty men with David, when they defied the Philistines that were gathered together at battle. The men of Israel were gone away. He arose and smote the Philistines until his hand was weary, and his hand clave unto the sword. And the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only to spoil. And after him was Shemaiah, the son of Agi, the Herite, and the Philistines were gathered together into a troop, where was a piece of ground full of lentils, and the people fled from the Philistines. But he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory. And 3 of the 30 chief went down and came to David in the harvest time unto the cave of Adullam, and the troop of the Philistines pitched in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in a hold, and the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. And David longed and said, "Oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate." And the 3 mighty men brake through the host of the Philistines, and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem, and that was by the gate, and took it, and brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink thereof, but poured it out unto the Lord.
And if I could say real quick, it showed you the integrity that King David had, because he had 3 of his men pretty much, go wreck shop with them Philistines just to retrieve that water. And he was like, just that was such an honorable thing for King David. He was like, look, I'm not even going to drink this water because y'all risked your life for it just so I could drink it. So he ended up just pouring it out as an offering to the Lord, man. That's a leader right there, man. An honorable leader.
Okay. And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among three, and he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them, and had the name among three.
Mm.
Was he not most honorable of three? Therefore, he was their captain. Howbeit, he attained not unto the first three. And Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabezel, who had done many acts, he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in the time of snow. And if I could add to that, just to add to this, there are mighty men, in all these nations, but the only nation who they look at like this is the nation of Israel, man.
Yep.
They all have their warriors, right? But when it comes down to it, that energy is only felt truly, from Israelites.
Yeah, because if I could make mention of that, you just look at that in today's time. All right, these nations, they have great warriors amongst their own nations. Like a point that I heard from Elder Ariala Slakia, Elder Ariala from Dallas when I first met him, and was asking him, because we all have that amongst ourselves, and we be like, yo, is this person Jake? We look at the so-called different heathens, thinking, are they Jake? And he made a good point. Just because these particular people are good at what they do, that doesn't make everybody Jake. But Jake stands out above the rest of the nations. That's why you have, like, just using three off the top, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson, which I'm using those names Michael on purpose because that name Michael is mighty, because that goes back to Michael Allah, which is a heavy name in the spirit, man, who was like the Most High. All right, so just using basketball terms, there's no other nation, all right, that has a Michael Jordan. You may have good players, but they're not on the level like a god like Michael Jordan was, or a Mike Tyson. All right, in boxing, a formidable man to where people were afraid of that dude. To this day, Mike Tyson is what, 60, 70 years old and still put fear in people, man. So there's something about the spirit that's in our people that just makes them stand out versus everybody else, man.
Okay. Verse 21. And he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man, and the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, but he went down to him with a staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear.
Mm.
These things did Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and had the name among three mighty men. He was more honorable than the 30, but he attained not to the first three, and David set him over his guard. Ashael, the brother of Joab, was one of the 30. Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shammah, the Harodite, Elika, the Harodite, Helez, the Palatite. These are all the names. You want me to read through all the names?
That's the point. Yeah, if you want to get all the rest of it, it's, you can read the rest of the chapter, but just showing you these are the mighty men that the house of David pretty much was built off. And so in the spirit, we are the house of David, returning back in the spirit. So just showing you the force of what these nations feel in all Jacob, especially when it comes to the prophets, man, is scary to them, because they see that we're coming back to who we're supposed to be, man.
Right.
Get Psalms 110, and we're gonna read 1 through 7. Because if I can make a point back off what I read earlier in Zechariah 12, where it said the most feeble, it says them that are feeble among them shall be in that day as David. All right, we know the ability King David had was he was one of the greatest, if not the greatest warrior to ever walk the earth, man. And so it said the feeble amongst us is going to be as him, but then they said the house of David shall be as God. So this is why when we heard here, let's hear this one more time. And we have that look now through the spirit. That's why these devils are tiptoeing around in their Congress meetings and whatnot. You say you didn't hear the sound?
No, we couldn't hear the sound on the video.
Hold on. Yeah. Let me see. Salakia. Niggas hating. How you hear everything else but don't hear that? That's some bullshit. You hear now?
Nah, you good now.
And if you've ever seen a race of people that were conquerors, that had never been conquered, they've got this look about them of arrogance. That's exactly what these extraterrestrials had.
When we come down now, we can say.
Yeah, I was wanting to hear the Edomite part. But like you said, we have that look of arrogance now in the spirit because these nations can't do nothing with us. Because in the spirit, as we're prophesying and pretty much, chanting down Babylon, these nations are afraid, all right, because they see what's coming, all right. They see how Jacob is because we have power now. This word is spiritual power, man, all right. Matter of fact, to prove that, Hebrews 4:12. I think the NLT. I think that one hits a little bit harder. Let me see. Yeah, Hebrews 4:12. Bible Shah.
Yeah. It's Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 12 in the NLT. So, in the NLT, it reads, "For the word of the Most High is alive and powerful. It is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between soul and spirit, between joint and marrow. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires."
Right. So it says the word of the Most High is alive and powerful, man. These ain't just mere words that we're using. All right. This is power that has been given to us from on high. All right. So that we could, pretty much speak the will of the Lord into the earth. And that's what's causing the world to change like we're seeing. Okay. And it says it is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between soul and spirit, between joints and marrows, because hey, this word will cut you down to the spirit. All right. This is why we've seen, and I speak from personal testimony, we've seen this at camp when we was prophesying and these scoffers and everything came up. It was one example, it was an Edomite. This nigga kept fucking with us for like months. And then the nigga disappeared for a little bit and then came back. And he was telling us, it was like, showed his arm. He had a bunch of needle marks and shit on his arm. He was like, because of y'all, I got addicted to heroin, because he was getting cut up so much because all we was doing is just reading their future, all right, showing you that we are the true gods, the true kings of the earth. It was showing that you Edomites ain't shit, all right, and that shit fucked him up to where that nigga went and got on drugs, man, and I don't know what happened to him after that, man, and we seen people real live bug out off of this truth, man, okay, so this is how we understand it. This is power right now, and all we're doing is reading words out of a book, but it's not just any book. This is the living testimony of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua that we're accessing, man. All right, being able to call down power from on high as we send prayers and curses up, man. So this is heavy things that these nations are seeing that we have the ability to tap back into, and that's why they're bugging out, man. And like I said, you have the account we read earlier about how these Ammonites are afraid, and these are just mere regular Jace. All right, Jake might be hitting the gym, so the nigga might be having the pump in the arms, got his chest and everything all big and shit. Then that's just a carnal. That's a carnal man. So how much more an Israelite in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man?
Right.
On top of, because we're doing what these niggas is doing, but we have the spirit as well. All right, we're in the gym. All right, we're running. We're eating right. All right. Hey, Jake still plays sports. We still athletic. We're all that, and we have the power in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So hey, you nations, hey, you in for a rude awakening, man.
Okay, I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
The Ecclesiastes 8:1. It says, "Who is the wise man, and who knoweth the interpretation of a thing?" The point: a man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what these nations are seeing. That so-called aura, right? That's upon Jake, right? Now they see it on Jake in the world, but how much more the men of the Lord, man? Right? They're gonna see that shining coming off of these men, right? That power, the spirit of the Lord, right? It emanating like you see in the video, right? That energy just coming off of us, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Hey, Jake is bad, bro. I want to look up because you made mention of that word aura. I want to see what that means. All right, so the word aura, according to the AI overview, it says a aura is a distinctive atmosphere, energy, or vibe that seems to emanate from a person, place, or thing. It commonly refers to a felt, intangible quality surrounding someone, such as confidence or calm. Modern slang uses it to describe a person's coolness or vibe, often quantified as aura points on social media. But the point of what it said, which is heavy, why you mentioned that word, it says that aura is commonly refers to as a felt, intangible quality surrounding someone, and so it's the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua that's in our people, whether they're in the circumcision or even out the circumcision. These nations feel that, man, because they know who we are. They know we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're in great fear, And as this word continues to grow, these nations are going to become more and more fearful because they know that change is coming, man. They feel it. That's why these heathen, specifically these elites, they're taking out, these top people because they don't want the existence of the Most High, continue to be talked about, because that takes away from the narrative that they actually are the ones that control, man. You can't control the so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans anymore, man. All right, you got 2/3 of them, but the Lord don't give a damn about 2/3, man. That's why he's about to get rid of them, man. All right, he's worried. Hey, you should be worried about the elect. All right, and to prove that, because this is Matthew 5:13. It says, "Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men." All right. So we're the salt of the earth. We're what gives the earth its flavor. We are what gives everything. You said sound back up?
I can. Well, let me check the.
Oh, I just got the message just popped up on my computer. That's why I was like, what the fuck? All right,
no.
so like, I'm gonna say they fucking with us. All right, so like I was saying, all right, we are the salt of the earth. All right, and what gives us that flavor is the spirit of the Lord, the law, statutes, commandments. But it says salt without a savior is good for nothing, because salt that can't give flavor is pretty much trash, man. And that's how the Lord looks at 2/3 without the law, statutes, commandments. All right, if you're not fearing the Lord and serving the Lord, you're useless. But even a useless nigga is still better than a heathen.
Exactly.
Because we contribute to the earth, whether in righteousness or wickedness, but we still matter more to the Lord than you other heathen, man. And that's what these heathen, they feel it. That's that aura you just spoke about.
Mm-hmm. You want that song?
You got it.
You started one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Psalm 110:1. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool.
Mm-hmm. And that's what the Most High, all right, he's gonna do. All right, he's gonna make the enemies our footstools, but starting with Yahushua, coming back and establishing his reign on the earth. All right. And by default, as us being joint heirs, all right, we're going to take part in, having that dominion over our enemies. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies.
Yeah, Yahushua. Okay. Yahushua is going to put all the nations under his foot. All right. Go ahead.
Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, in the beauties of holiness. From the womb of the morning, thou hast the dew of thy youth.
Right. And that's the beauty of what the Lord is about to do, because starting with the elect, the Lord is going to amplify us and endow us with spiritual power to where, all right, the 2/3, even amongst our people, they're gonna be in awe, because right now the elect are the least respected, the least sought out, the most looked down upon people on the earth right now, even amongst Israel. All right, that the nations already don't acknowledge it, but then 2/3 of our own people, they look down on us like we're nothing, man. So when that power comes, man, hey, it says thy people shall be willing in the day of that power, man. Hey, everybody is going to bow down to the elect in that time, because that's who the Lord is going to show in the earth that he was dealing with. Like when the Lord did with Moses, when you had was it Korah and the rest of them that was coming against him, and the Lord, had them, set the two candles, and he was like, look, I'm gonna show you who I'm dealing with. And eventually he showed through Moses that he was dealing with Moses, because the earth opened up and swallowed, Korah, Abraham, and all the rest of them that was following them, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was just looking at this word power in the interlinear on the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. It says strength, power, might, to show oneself strong, to display valor, and it's going to be a display of power, right, in the earth, right? It says a warlike expedition, right? Because what's going to be happening, man? The elect, right, the 144,000, those men are going to be going across the earth, right, reestablishing order, man, right? And the Lord is going to be using his men to in these times of salvation, man, right? These are his warriors, right, along with the angels, So that warlike expedition, it says, that is the day of sending of the rod of the Messiah's strength out of Zion. When he rules.
Oh God, yeah, read that again. Yo, that's heavy.
It says that is the day of the sending of the rod of the Messiah's strength out of Zion, when he rules in the midst of his enemies and strikes through kings in the day of his wrath.
And that same power that Yahushua has, the Lord's going to send to his elect, man. Like we always made mention, it's going to be 144 bright burns, man. Viltrumites, Saiyans, mutants, whatever term you want to use, okay? That power is coming to us, man. And these heathen know it. They feel it in the spirit, man. Because look, it's in every one of Jake now, man. But the Lord has us turned down. That's why when you're born, Esau wants to shoot you up with all different types of jabs and vaccines. All right, they push this sorry ass diet on us, the American diet, or what they call the SAD, Standard American Diet. They give you bullshit music. They push nothing but degeneracy on you. All right, for the sole purpose of suppressing that power that the Lord's going to send, but it's not going to come through, Jake raising their vibration, or Jake, tapping into witchcraft. No, that true power is going to come directly from the Most High, man.
Right. Okay. So going back, Psalm 110:3, thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, in the beauties of holiness. From the womb of the morning, thou hast the dew of thy youth. The Lord had sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath.
And that's what's about to happen, man. All right. Hey, the Lord is about to strike through. He's about to put down all the ruling heathen nations. All right. And establish himself and the nation of Israel as the top nation in the earth.
That's
Okay.
right. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries.
Yeah, man. And Yahweh Shah is about to take down all you nations, man.
Mhm.
All right. And we're gonna be right there with him, Lord willing. All right, wreck and shop on you nations, man. Hey, like this that I think it's like a Russian movie. I know you seen clips of it. I think it was called Guardians, where you had the one dude with like the little circular sword. He was going through cutting the people up that was shooting on the car.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like we're gonna be doing that all over the earth, man. You know, because it's a scripture that says how the angels are gonna go throughout the earth, you know, pretty much purging out things that's offending to the Lord, roughly paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that was, you read the verse 6 and then we'll get like one more scripture and we'll close out.
Okay. The Psalm 110:6, he shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries.
Right, and that's what's about to happen, man. All right, you heathen are in trouble, man. All right, I said one. You got like three more. Get real quick, Isaiah 41:15.
Okay.
And I'm gonna read this. This is Psalm 82:6. It says, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. And see, Jake will come to that knowledge, you know, in the world, but it won't be in the right distinction. All right, because Jacob become a Muslim, you know, and you know, we're God too, you know, and we're all, you know, they call Allah, you know, or the 5%ers, you know, they'll say that there is no God in the sky, but God is in you, you know. So Jake, you know, even say that, you know, peace, God, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what makes us a God, because that word God, when you go into that Elohim, which really means judges, all right, ruler, king, judge, but we're judges. So you need the knowledge of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua to be a true God, man. That's why Esau, no matter what he's going to try to do with this new world order, he will never become God, man. All right, because you have to have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Lord to truly become God. That's why when Adam and Eve, all right, when you read in Genesis, hey, when they ate from the tree of good and evil, the angel said what? That now they have become like we. All right. Because each angel, literally, you can call a God. All right. And we're gods on a low level. So when the Lord changes us, we're gonna become gods on the earth, or what they call like a demigod. All right. God, you know, we're gonna be, you know, able to coexist on the earth, be able to still eat, drink, you know, have sex and everything, but we're gonna be in the same angelic body that Yahweh has right now. Okay. Right. So it says, you are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, man. All right. And these nations, they know that we're gods, man. That's why they revere us. That's why in the Catholic Church, they still bow to the dark images. All right, the Russian icons. All right. And that's why when Jake go overseas, you're treated like a god, man. Because these nations, they know that about you. It's only here in America where you're looked down upon and treated like you don't matter, man. Yep. You got it out.
So Isaiah 41 and verse 15. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff.
Right. So that he said he's going to make us a new sharp instrument, threshing having teeth. He's going to endow spiritual power onto his people. All right. And we're going to, you know, go throughout the heathen nations and smite. All right. Shall thresh the mountains and beat them small and make the hills as chaff. We're going to go and fuck you other nations up.
Right.
Okay. And you ain't going to be able to do nothing. You ain't going to be able to hold a candle to us, man. All right. Your greatest weapons, your tanks, your fighter jets, and whatever else. None of that shit's going to matter because you're not going to be able to do nothing with a God, man.
Right. Because those mountains go into governments, right? The mountains and hills go into big and small governments, right? Big and small nations. So, like you said, no matter what you think you have, it's not enough, man.
Nope. You fuck Esau and the other nations. You are fucked. So get ready, man. All right. I'm get second Ezra 2:28 and we'll end off that. Okay. Man, hey, we got great things coming, man. And like I said, that shift is happening, through the spirit. Abarat Azab, man. I'm gonna do a few videos on that subject, dealing with that dude, David Wilcock. He's bringing out a lot of good shit because these heathen know what's coming, man. Dealing with this power, man. Brothers, spiritual power is coming. All right. And if you don't believe that, then you're not going to receive it. But we believe it. All right. That's why Great Millstone is really the only group, major Israelite group that you hear really speaking about that. You don't hear IUIC or ISUPK and none of these other groups talk about it because they don't believe it.
Okay. So just 2:28. The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith the Lord.
You ain't gonna be able to do shit against us because like that's that Jay-Z song, No Church on the Wall. What is a king to a god? All right, what's a man to a god? What is you gonna be able to do with a god with extraterrestrial abilities, man? Extraordinary abilities, man. You see in the TV shows and the animes and whatnot. Hey, the people that have that power, man, they're literally gods to the normies, man.
Right.
And they can't do shit with them. That's why you watch X-Men. Esau had to create those robots called Sentinels to deal with the mutants. All right, and built the Invincible show. They had to create a virus to fucking wipe out the Viltrumites and whatnot. Is to average mortals, you can't do shit with an individual with that power, man. And that's why these heathen are afraid, man.
Yep.
You got anything else, dog?
Oh, that was it, man. Like the scriptures, I mean, it put it perfectly, man. Right? They shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, man. Right? That's going back to those tweets, right? That's that envy, right? That's that hatred coming out, right? Because they know that they have no power over us, man. Right? And now they're seeing it in any realm, right? The only thing they have is what the Lord has given them, right, to keep us in this lower state, man. But as the spirit starts to intensify in the men of the Lord and the believers, man, right, they're seeing that they have no course of action, man.
Say, brothers, man, we got a lot to look forward to, man. The Lord, He's about to turn things in our favor. So hey, just keep the faith and pray, that power comes, man. Quickly at that. So with that, Lord willing, you were edified. So we're gonna close this lesson out by giving our honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to elect us out here laboring in all truth and sincerity. To you, we say shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.